Welcome everybody to the Kliq podcast, where you get your daily dose of DAO insights and deep dives. This is not your place for just plain abstract ideas. We are here to listen to the people who are in the arena, who are there taking care of operations, and who deal with the ground reality of things. We care about solutions, and we also just like to keep things with a natural vibe with things. I'm Abhishek Ajit, and along with me is my co-host Abhishek Sanavne.
Hey everyone, how you doing? How you guys doing?
I think they'll all be kind of baller today earlier as normal. So today we have with us someone who actually represents someone with that sort of energy within the space itself. He's someone who is part of a couple of amazing DAOs that we know, and he's kind of the relationships guy, the net, and the guy who really makes the connections happen and gives visibility to these projects, and has a lot of things to say about the space in general. We would like to have James over here with us. He is a contributor with Bankless, the DAO Relationship Guild, and Wildfire DAO, and is closely working with a couple of very interesting Web3 projects. Hi, how are you doing at
Hey,
that side
what's
of
up,
town today?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy to be here, man. Yeah, just ready to get into it and talk about all the wonderful things that's going on in the DAO space, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, the whole energy that you carry to the space is pretty cool, man. I mean, I just took a look at your Twitter and you just kind of bring visibility to a lot of Web3 projects. You got your own insights about something that I feel, goes a long way about collaboration and things like that. It goes a long way with the space, but you kind of embody that in a big way. Nice to have you here, man.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Ah, that's pretty cool. So let's get down to it, Jaris. I mean, what is your story, man? I mean, how did you get into the DAO space? And more importantly, what were the stories that you faced in your IRL life that really connected you with the concept of a DAO?
All right, so first, before I even like mention how I got into the DAO space, I might as well mention like how I got into crypto altogether. It was like all in the same year. So yeah, I was just flipping through the channels one day and I came across a Bloomberg episode and I heard that they were talking about GameStop. So that caught my attention. I left the channel there and they were talking about GameStop went from $3 to $400. I'm like, whoa, it went over 100x. I was like, okay, because I did a little bit of like I took a little bit of economic courses, some business courses when I was in college, but that was just like as an elective. Like my major was social science, right? So
Wow,
I
okay.
took some business courses just as an elective, and I did pretty well in those courses. But I figured I wasn't ready to start investing until I had like a decent amount of money because I was just looking at it from a traditional stock market standpoint, and it don't really move like crypto does, or it wasn't like all that volatile. So I said I'll get into investing one day when I like start a successful business. And
I think
then
GameStop was kind of that entry point for a lot of people, right? I think it just
right.
kind of brought people into the mainstream about, this whole GameStop thing. I think that is pretty cool that way, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. That's what made me an investor. That's what got me into investing, period, which eventually led me into crypto. So when
Oh,
I
go
saw
on.
that the price went like that, I was like, okay, I don't necessarily need a ton of money to, to be successful at stock trading. So I waited for a pullback, got in GameStop when it was like $49, and then got
Wow.
into AMC, and then started getting active on Reddit because prior to that, I never had a Reddit account or used it. So started seeing what's going on with Wall Street bets. Eventually, I wanted to be exposed to more volatile assets because not too much assets like in the New York Stock Exchange is like it doesn't really perform like GameStop or GME or like AMC. So I said, let me see what Bitcoin is all about. I heard of it. So this is 2021. I heard of Bitcoin, didn't know anything about it really. Then when I started to learn about Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's when I wanted to stay in the space. And yeah, then after that, I pretty much didn't really trade stocks anymore every here and there. But then I was like fully into crypto. And then that's when I came across Bankless, right? So I think I looked up a video about Ethereum, but I saw on YouTube. And then I saw that Bankless had a video with Mark Cuban. Now, prior to this, I didn't know who Bankless headquarters was. I had no idea who David and Ryan was.
Were you
But
acquainted
Mark,
with DAOs at that time, or were you just getting into the hang of it when you saw the video?
just getting the hang of it. I was just understanding what an NFT was at this time. This is like February. This is February 2021, and I saw it had a real life use case because I was talking to Mark Cuban, and he's somebody that I looked up to as far as like learning how to be a better entrepreneur. I used to study Mark Cuban, so I
All
thought it
of
was
us,
cool
man.
that
He's a
they
man.
had. Yeah, hell yeah. And then they was talking about NFTs and the use cases for them. And at the time, I was a designer as well. So I was working on a font family. I was creating a font family at the time, and I was going to release it on a regular traditional font marketplace. And they take like 40%, right? When you release if you come up with a font, they take like 40%. And then you have to sign up with a Nexus and then, like be tax compliant with your state. And it was like, it just takes all the fun out of it. And then when I saw with an NFT, I could just turn this thing to an NFT, sell it for some Ethereum. And I said, all right, that's the route I'm gonna go. This thing makes sense. I'm just like crypto. I'm just focused on crypto from now on. This makes like perfect sense to me. And
Anybody
then
sees 40%, they will run to crypto, man.
Yeah.
I did that,
yeah, man.
man.
Yeah, so I was like, that's not fun that traditional way. It was like it made it a bummer. It was like, damn, like once I come out with my fines, like damn near half of it is already gone. And then, then the percentage of that had to go to taxes. And then yeah, the NFTs, I see that the use case of NFTs is change all of that, gives the power to the creators. And then after that episode, that's when I subscribed to Bankless. And then that's when I started getting emails about DAOs. And then that's where like the seed was planted in my head to check out this DAO thing one day. But it took a little while. I didn't get into DAOs until December 2021. I was trading from February to December. And then when I saw it with Bitcoin went to 69,000, and then one of my indicators suggested that the price is gonna fall because the price is going up, but the on balance volume was going down. And then I was like, oh man, this thing is looking pretty bad. This might not be the best time for me to trade unless I get into shorting. And I wasn't, I was new to investing. I wasn't necessarily ready to short just yet. So like, let me see what DAOs are all about. Can I earn? I didn't want to do anything else but crypto. And then I said, if I'm going to join a DAO, it's going to be Bankless DAO. And then the rest is history. I got into Bankless DAO December 6th. And yeah, that was it.
So when you were trading, like, were you like trading Bitcoin, all the blue chips, or were you like, partaking with the shit coins as well?
Definitely was partaking in shit coins. Well, I was because I got into GME, so I was looking for moonshots. I mean, of course, the first thing I invested in were the blue chips, Bitcoin, Ethereum, I guess Cardano, if you consider that. I was into like all of that.
Do you want to get cancelled from the space, Jaris?
Yeah, so I got into all of that in the beginning, like with a regular Coinbase account. And then I realized Coinbase wasn't necessarily the best platform for me to trade on because I couldn't put a stop loss on there. I mean, you could on Coinbase Pro, but you couldn't get all the shit coins on Coinbase Pro. Like when I was trading, Dogecoin wasn't on there yet. There was some other coin like BitTorrent wasn't on there. Like, so it was certain things that I wanted to trade. So I made a KuCoin account, and then I started watching videos on how to trade. And then, I was learning from like regular retail traders, and trading retail really ain't the way to go. Like one day when I was doing good, like when it was, a bull market, it was kind of easy to make money here and there, but another thing too, I had like this hodl mindset, like when I first got in. So it was like a lot of like profits I missed out on. And then when I should have cashed out on Dogecoin when it was 75 cents, and I was holding it because people saying, oh no, it's gonna go to $1, it's gonna go to $5. So this is me just getting into crypto. So I fell for all of that. And then I realized like, okay, I can't just rely on people on YouTube how to trade or like what to do. I need to learn how to trade for myself. So I started reading books on how to trade. And then I started looking up because once I started doing all this retail stuff and like looking at trend lines and all of that, and I realized this isn't necessarily the best way to trade. I said, it gotta be another way. So like one day, and I was watching the movie Wall Street, like a lot, like the original Wall Street with Michael Douglas. And Charlie Sheen. And that like inspired me to like, I gotta get good at this thing, right? So I was like, on YouTube, I looked up what's a cheat code for trading. It got to be something that's better than this retail stuff. And then I came across a video. I think it was from The Secret Mindset or something like that, but it was called the Bank Secret Indicator, and it was basically just teaching you how to trade based on like volume and like smart money trading. And then eventually I discovered the Wyckoff method. So I started trading like that. Really changed the game for me. And then when I started like looking at charts for myself, that changed the game for me. So like what I recommend anybody, like don't necessarily rely on what people say on YouTube. You got to learn how to trade and do this thing yourself. And
you were getting quite the hang of how did you kind of transition into kind of working within the crypto space, and how did you find DAOs that way, man?
Yeah, so I found DAOs from the Bankless DAO newsletter. And then I was still, I was thinking about joining a DAO, but I didn't really, I don't know. I was having too much fun trading at the time, right? Until when I noticed when Bitcoin went to 69K. And then what happened was I heard the story about Constitution DAO. And then, I thought it was so cool
Oh
that
yeah.
a group of people online could get together, raise $47 million in like 4 days, I think it was. And I was like, wow, people could get together and do that. That's very powerful. I said, I need to really check this DAO thing out because Bankless DAO planted the seed. Like I heard about DAOs because of Bankless DAO. I saw that and I was like, all right, I got to get involved in this thing now. Because it was like, it's those things that's really radical that really catch my attention. Like just like how GameStop brought me in to investing. And then Constitution DAO, that was like, that was it. That was the nailer. That's what made me want to actually participate in DAOs. And then I said, if I'm gonna join any DAO, it gotta be Bankless DAO. Cause it wasn't for Bankless, then I wouldn't even really be into crypto like that. And so I learned a lot from Bankless as far as the knowledge that I obtained about the Ethereum network. So so I said, all right, let me join Bankless DAO. And then my first meeting was in the research guild because I figured that would fit me the most. Especially, I figured if I join the research, I'll probably at least learn how to do some fundamental analysis instead of, because I just pretty much relied on technical analysis and sentiment analysis. So I said in research, I'm probably gonna learn a lot more. I'm gonna learn a lot from these people. And what was cool about joining a DAO is that now I could connect with people that like crypto as much as I do, or more than I do, and I really understand this space, been in here longer. Because my family and friends, they wasn't trying to hear all that crypto stuff all the time.
I think that's all of us, man. At this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. So I said, all right, cool. I'm in a space where people know more about crypto than I do. I didn't want to just be quote unquote like the smartest person in the room or something like that. So like when I got into a DAO, people knew a lot more than I did. So I could learn and establish friendships with people that wanted to, go in the same direction in life that I want to. And when I joined that research guild, the very first meeting, the guild coordinator, his name was Ernest Agaya. And I'm sure like a lot of people know about him. He's extremely active in the DAO space. But anyway, so his internet connection was kind of poor that day. So he asked if anybody wanted to lead the meeting. I said, all right, sure. Cause he said it was a 1,500 bank bounty for it. I was like, sure, I'll do it for 1,500 bank. Absolutely. And then send me the notes.
Destiny gave you a hand and you just grabbed it, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. And then I led the meeting, and then it usually don't always happen like this. But I asked about it. So when do I get the 1,500 bank? I had no idea about coordinate allocations, none of that. I just knew it was a 1,500 bank allocation. So I'm like, all right, when do I get it? Because I thought like that was like automatic. Then he said he actually tipped me, I guess, like from his wallet. And then he showed me how to add the bank token into Polygon because bank is not only on mainnet, but it's also on Polygon. And he took me there because, like less fees. Ethereum gas fees was insane at that time, in December 2021. It was like crazy. So he sent it to me on Polygon. And then bank was roughly, at this time, bank was roughly 20 cents. So it was like I made like $300 in an hour. And I said, oh, I'm never going back I already told myself in 2018 I wasn't going back into the regular working world. I was gonna figure out like being an entrepreneur or something. And then that was it. And I was like, all right, DAOs, this is the thing. I'm gonna figure out how to make a living here, even if like I know that it's rough and not everybody like figured that out. But I said that's what I want to do. I don't really want to do
What
anything
was
else.
Bankless DAO like at the time you joined, and what are the guilds that were kind of like mushrooming? Because I see a lot of guilds in there. So for some people, they may have heard about Bankless DAO, but what exactly were they kind of looking to achieve at the time? What were the guilds kind of at the time, and how did you kind of transition into the DAO relationship side of things?
Cool. All right. So when I first joined Bankless DAO, I might as well put this out there too. That was pretty much the first Discord I ever joined in which I was actually active in. And just for some people, I know they'll take a look at the Bankless DAO Discord server and it can be overwhelming because out of all of the
I was
Discord
just going to
servers,
mention that.
the Bankless DAO, if you could really like get yourself acclimated to the Bankless DAO Discord server, if you could master that, you could pretty much manage any community because like every other Discord server I joined after that, it was so much more like easy to navigate because with Bankless DAO is just so much stuff going on, especially if you have a fire hose tag that give you access to every channel. But anyway, like the vibes was really cool because like this was the first time I joined a community in crypto, period, was like outside of crypto Twitter. But Bankless DAO provided so much more value, right? It's because
The Bankless DAO is kind of like learning driving in India. Like if you can drive in India, you can drive anywhere. It's like if you can navigate Bankless DAO Discord, you can navigate any other Discord in this case.
yeah.
Man.
I got you. Yeah, Bankless. Yeah, that's where I met a lot of my closest friends now in crypto was in Bankless DAO. But yeah, I was heavily involved in research. A few areas that interested me too was I was thinking, should I go into design guild because like I had design experience, but I kind of like gave myself an ultimatum. If I'm gonna really understand finance to the best of my abilities, like I already kind of understood. I didn't necessarily master design because I never want to say like I just completely mastered a task because then that kind of like stunts growth. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, sure, I could have joined design, but I was like, nah, I want to like learn more about finance and really understand more about blockchain technology, really get a grasp, like really understand the infrastructure. So I was pretty much only involved in research guild. But yeah, met a lot of people and then I learned a lot. Like, and then I joined analytics guild as well. So Steph, she's from the dev guild. So when I introduced myself in the like getting involved channel, she was nice enough to reply to my introduction. And she said that analytics would make sense for me. I started joining some of their meetings. It was kind of like too advanced for me at the time, especially like I wasn't really into like coding like that. And you know, like you had to put together like data sets and stuff like that. But I like joining those meetings because it was like a lot of alpha they dropped in those meetings and talked about certain wallets that you should get and stuff like that. And just, yeah, it was just like a lot of alpha there. And I met Saw Thorne in there. And then, yeah, she's a very talented DAO contributor. Like at the time, they were working on DAO Dash. And yeah, it was tracking the analytics of what's going on in the DAO space. It was funny because it come full circle because I'm really into data now. But I like to apply that to marketing. But yeah, but the Bankless DAO community is a lot of energy. It's a lot of optimism and you know people are very helpful. It was a great place for me to learn crypto, like to learn about crypto on Web3. I'm glad that that was my first DAO.
So what exactly were the major contributions that you did with Bankless, and how did that kind of transition into you, moving into other DAOs and things like that?
All right, so my major contributions were in the beginning were AMAs. Well, prior to AMAs, I was doing briefing documents for Crypto Sapiens, which is a podcast that spun out of Bankless DAO. Yeah, I was introduced there. I was brought on there from his name is Sponge. He was the head of research at that time for Crypto Sapiens. And yeah, I had a good working relationship with him, just like with Research Guild weekly syncs. And he reached out to me and said, "Hey man, I think you would be interested in being a researcher with Crypto Sapiens." I'm like, hell yeah, because especially at that time, I wanted to, earn some more bank. I wanted to become a level 1 member. I wasn't L1 yet, it's still December. So yeah, I started. So that's where I actually learned how to do some fundamental analysis. Cause now I have to really look into the projects that are gonna be on the podcast and yeah, input all this information. And then I figured, all right, if I do briefing documents there, I can use that skill in like other areas where other people doing podcasts. But anyway, NF Thinker, that's like pretty much like one of my best friends in Bankless DAO. At this time, Humphrey Calderon, that's the founder of Crypto Sapiens, that's the host of Crypto Sapiens. And he did an episode with Citadel. That was the very first briefing doc that I ever did. And they're decentralizing home ownership, basically. Like they're decentralizing real estate. That's what Citadel was doing. And so I wrote a briefing doc for them. And then NF Thinker was actually going to do an AMA within the next week. And then Humpty, he actually mentioned that I did the briefing doc in the episode. Like he gave me a shout out. And then NF Thinker reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you share that briefing doc that you did about Citadel with me?" I shared it with him. And then, yeah, after that, I figured, okay, I could start doing briefing docs for him since he's starting to do AMAs. And then I noticed, so this is like where like my experience in the DAO like changed completely is when I saw with NF Thinker, he made a post, like I was like lurking on the Discord just to see what's going on. I'm new to DAOs, new to Discord, so I just want to see what conversation is going on in Bankless DAO. And then I saw in the Education Guild, because I was thinking about joining Education Guild, I saw NF Thinker talk about Beanstalk, which at the time was a stable coin that's based on credit. And then I was like, wow, this thing looks really interesting. And then I checked out the website. I really liked the UI. It looked really cool. And I said, you know what? I wonder if he's going to do an AMA with them. So I asked him, were he ever planning on doing an AMA? And I would write a briefing doc, right? Because this is something I found this project very interesting. And I wanted to write a briefing document on it. And he was basically like, hell yeah. And then he said, you know what, I could bring you on for like a pre-AMA to like talk to him and get everything like set up the talking points and stuff. But I had no clue I was going to actually do the AMA with him. So I put together the briefing. He shouted me out, tipped me some bank for doing that, which was pretty cool. I wasn't even like expecting any bank. And then, yeah, he was like, you know what, would you like to host this event with me? Especially because Beanstalk was extremely complex, right? And I already had all this information on them. So it would help with the talking points. So I was like, hell yeah, sure, I'll do it. Even though I didn't really know I was gonna join Bankless DAO doing podcasts. I wasn't really, or like AMAs rather. And but I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then we did that AMA with Beanstalk, and then after that, we got approached for another project, and this was like within DAO. This came out of Relationships Guild because it's where I met my friend Chris Walsh, and then he eventually introduced me to Wildfire. But that's another story to get into. But anyway, my boy Chris Walsh, aka Walshy, he reached out to us because he's a core contributor at Lido, right? And then there was a project called the Idols, an NFT project called the Idols, and that's another like complex project. But anyway, yeah, he reached out. It was like the Idols would like to do an AMA, and then this was the first time we did a paid AMA, right? So Chris Walsh, he pretty much set up the payment structure, and then which eventually became our DAO Relationships AMA, our weekly, like not weekly, but that became like our DAO Relationships AMA working stream. So yeah, he came up with the price, and we stuck with that price ever since. And then yeah, that pretty much changed my life because that was when I could make like a decent amount of money per month. If I could do at least one AMA per month was pretty good. At least could pay like a decent amount of bills and stuff with that. And things went really well after that. So like my biggest contributions would be the AMAs, and then we're gonna do something bigger for AMAs coming soon. But yeah, that's what I'm pretty much known for in Bankless DAO.
So what were the entire working style of working in a DAO and kind of working at a startup? I mean, they're kind of radically different, right? So for people who might be new to understanding and probably getting into the waters at a DAO, what are the sort of advice that you would give them about kind of working in that sort of environment and getting that sort of output, especially when it comes to AMAs? There's a lot of coordination that has to be done and things like that. What's the best way of doing things?
So the best way, just like in general, for everybody to join a DAO, I would say is to make yourself indispensable. I would say like to pick something that you like doing and master and like really get into that skill, master that skill, or master it to the best of your abilities and keep improving upon it. Like don't necessarily stay dormant. Yeah, just keep getting better and better at whatever that skill set is. Make yourself indispensable, and then yeah, be an entrepreneur about it. Because the way I look at the DAO space, because around this time I was just starting to study finance in general. Just because when I got into DAOs, learning about crypto, watched the movie Wall Street like 100 times, and I said, let me start understanding finance, because understanding finance would give me a better understanding tokenomics if I understood economics. So I started getting into like that, taking in content from Milton Friedman, and started watching like the documentary series like Free to Choose, and I started really understanding what a free market is. And to me, that's what the DAO is. It's a free market. You can come in there with your ideas, write a proposal, get some people to back your proposal, and then yeah, you could become an entrepreneur pretty much just like that. So I would say like, yeah, some people like will come into the DAO space, and like me too, I was thinking of it sort of like, how can I sort of earn like a full-time living? What kind of job can I pick up? But the cool thing about a DAO is you can create your own job. Let's say like prior to this, I was really into design. I was into fashion design as well. So let's say I wanted to, if you want to be a fashion designer, you can join a DAO. You could make a sub DAO of a current existing DAO, or you can create your own DAO from scratch. Like after you like form certain connections and like how to build your Discord server up and got people to be a mod for your server and everything like that. But yeah, pretty much anything that you could do, just about anything that you could do in the Web 2 world, you could do it in the Web 3 world. So whatever it is that you're interested in, if you're a marketer, like if you like, for an example, I noticed that was really lacking in the DAO space in terms of marketing. A lot of people are not really using keywords strategically. And that's what I was doing on Instagram. And I had a drop shipping business when I was selling clothes in 2019. And that's what really helped me reach an audience like outside of my immediate following. And that's the people that actually purchased my clothes were the people that discovered me from hashtags. And you can also hide your hashtags on Instagram if you use this write alt text feature. So you don't necessarily have to put all your hashtags right in front of everybody. but yeah, so that's what I'm into now, like really getting like, so I really like to collect social data now, and it makes tweeting much easier, and it really helps with increasing your reach, because you want to increase your reach outside of your immediate following to really like get that flywheel effect going. So so like when you join the DAO space, I'll say like really tap into a skill, really like get into a skill set, master that, make yourself indispensable, and you can You could pretty much like start your own projects. Like when you first join a DAO, get in where you fit in. And in my terms, I felt like I fit best in the research guild, earn a little bank. You might not necessarily make life-changing money or enough money to live on initially, but you make that network, you make these connections. And then once you like really find your fit and you can find your place, you get used to the DAO space, you be like, okay, I'm gonna create my own project. And if you create your own project, you could pretty much negotiate your own prices, and then that's where you could change your life. I feel like the DAO is the free market. You can't, like, there's no bureaucracy and red tape, very little bureaucracy and red tape, because, so there is some centralization there. But for the most part, like, you're not going to get this experience really in the Web 2 world like you can in Web 3. You can work with people all over the world. Like, for an example, I had tons of ideas that I wanted to do before getting in the DAO space that involved, I needed some friends that were engineers. I needed some people that really knew how to code, because there was some stuff that I wanted to do with artificial intelligence and fashion, things like that, and augmented reality. But I don't know how to do none of that stuff. But now that I'm in a DAO space, I'm talking to people all over the world, very talented developers. And then now I'm like, wow, I could actually create a lucrative business if I really wanted to create like a business in fashion, or in this case, it could be anything. You could be an author, you can write books or anything like that, and you could get teamed up with somebody that's really good in design. And it's just much better, I think, than Fiverr or Upwork or something like that. You get into the DAO space, make these friends, make these connections. You could pretty much make your dreams come true. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, man. There's a lot of tactical advice that you have given to the people who would be joining in new, because they don't know how to optimize their reach. So that's really helpful. So I just had a question at this point. So who are the people that you kind of look up to in the space? Who are the people that you initially looked up to? And now, like, since you have gained all of this knowledge, who are the people that now you look up to? Just want to understand. Yeah.
Got you. So when I first joined, all right, so some of the people that I really look up to in the space in general is David Hoffman, Ryan Sean Adams. I mean, that's what got the ball rolling for me to really like get interested in crypto. I know I didn't necessarily take their advice, but I started trading shit coins. I know that's not their thing to do. But they're the people that really got me interested in the NFTs, Ethereum, and then just hearing them talk. And then I was like, man, I gotta really catch on to the lingo. Because that's when I watched that very first episode, I was like, wow, crypto is an entirely like different language, basically. So they really made me want to get more advanced in the crypto. So I have to shout them out first and foremost. And then when I joined BanklessDAO, one of the administrators, like a high-ranking member in BanklessDAO, is Ice Cool. And Ice Cool, he's the guild coordinator for the Treasury Guild. And he's also in Dev Guild as well. Like he's in numerous guilds, but he's like, I think like most known for being in the Treasury Guild. And I actually, I wanted to get bank listed on Bean at this time, because I thought it would be a cool way for us to basically like swap out bank without dropping the price, like without selling it on the open market, and then get beans in return, because that's a stable coin. So I set up a meeting in the Treasury Guild for them to meet, and one of the biz devs for Beanstalk. And then Ice Cool, that's when in this meeting, he mentioned that, okay, so Beanstalk is all game theory. And he said, wait, well, all the crypto is really game theory. And that was the first time I really heard about game theory, really. So I was like, okay, if all crypto is game theory, I should study game theory, see what this is all about. So Ice Cool, that meeting that we had, it really helped me in terms of like understanding crypto much more. So I have to shout out Ice Cool. And then in terms of who else I look up to, Kevin Owaki, he also talks a lot about game theory and shelling points and things of that nature. So I really...
It's a shame that he had to leave Bitcoin DAO, right? I mean, even though you kind of understand that as a founder, he shouldn't be the face of it, but still, the guy was a real voice to have at Bitcoin DAO to kind of lead the way, no?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For sure. And then another person I look up to as well was some of the folks from like Malik DAO, like Amin. I look up to him. And Spencer Graff from DAO House. He's also very intelligent. And another person too is Greg Osuri from Akash Network. I really look up to him as well, the founder of Akash. Yeah, he has some really good insights into decentralization, and he's decentralizing the cloud. And I got to speak to him once when I was doing my own podcast segment for Crypto Sapiens, because Crypto Sapiens is decentralizing, and it's allowing for their community to have a voice on their platform as well. So yeah, I had a segment all on Web3 infrastructure. And yeah, I was able to talk to him. And yeah, he's definitely somebody else I look up to. Big shout outs to Greg Osuri.
Oh, amazing, man. These are a bunch of really amazing names out there, especially, I personally respect NF Tinker. I am a big fan of high school. I kind of follow the Bankless forum discussions, and they both have so many insights, It's pretty crazy that way. One thing that I notice about it, all of you, is that you guys have this amazing ability to balance between multiple DAOs and still execute the best way you can. I mean, guys like me, if I'm in one project, I don't want to half-ass it. I would rather stick it to one project.
I get that 100%.
So coming to you, now how were you able to kind of balance out your time doing whatever was necessary with Bankless, but also getting the time to kind of handle outreach for Wildfire DAO, and what is the story behind Wildfire DAO? What kind of allowed you to kind of work for all these projects at the same time?
All right, so first off, I agree with you 100%. Like, you don't want to half-ass a project. So I definitely get it why you would want to focus 100%. So knowing like when I got involved in DAO relationships and I'll be talking to a lot of DAOs, I said, all right, just so I don't half-ass it in all these DAOs, I was like, I got to have one skill set then that I master instead of, because I know I'm not going to be in one DAO. So I might as well master this skill set of outreach. I have to like really get good at outreach and just become a more effective marketer. So that's when I really got into keyword research and stuff like that, and social listening, stuff like that. So to make me more effective with my outreach initiatives. So I said, all right, so I have to have, if I'm not going to be in one DAO, then I have to have one style. Then I have to have one style. I have to have one like working style, like something that I'm known for, which is big like outreach, which leads to partnerships. And then to be effective with outreach and getting these partnerships, I have to get good at social listening, because I noticed that it's nothing worse to me than cold outreach. I don't like cold outreach. I don't really just like to just jump in somebody's DMs that don't know me and I'm talking about this project and we should partner and stuff like that. Cause I noticed like a lot of these projects, they want you to reach out to a lot of people, but I feel like that's not the best way to do it. And yeah, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna pick like a special skill then, because I'm not gonna be in one space. So I gotta have like a really good skill. And then I said, you know what, I'm gonna really get into social listening. That's gonna be what I hang my hat on. So that pretty much took care of that. So I know I could pretty much have multiple clients then. So I started looking at it from like an entrepreneurial standpoint. So okay, and then I could just have some clients then. I could have 3, 4, 5 clients. So I create a work stream for myself because I mastered this skill. And then as far as Wildfire, all right, so it's a cool story. So you know how your podcast is called the Kliq. I got an engagement group in which I call the Kliq, right?
Wow.
It's KLIQ. So yeah, and I was inspired by wrestling. I'm really into like the Attitude era of wrestling, like around like I think that came out Attitude era 97, 98. That's when that came out. Stone Cold Steve Austin, all them guys, the Hardy Boys, all them. So anyway, that's like a lot of like my ideas, like even like with design, like my aesthetic, a lot of that come from like the 2001 SmackDown games and stuff like that, because it kind of had like a futuristic feel to it, and then it was like still like rough and rugged and cool. So I was just like a lot of that influenced my design, and then it just influenced me, period. Because yeah, I always wanted to be like them guys, and I was like real little and stuff. But anyway,
Pausing you for a second. Stone Cold or Steve Austin or The Rock?
Stone Cold.
That's it.
I like The Rock too. The Rock's cool, but Stone Cold was just badass though.
Yeah, man. I think even Batista and Triple H was underrated at the time. They were just coming out and they're pretty cool also at that time. But no one beats Stone Cold Steve Austin, man.
That's your favorite. My favorite wrestler overall though is Jeff Hardy. But I probably look up the most. Yeah, Jeff Hardy's my favorite, and then like I look up to Triple H. I like Edge too. I like heels too. So like Triple H and Edge, they were very entertaining. So it was like my favorite heel. But anyway,
sorry to pause on, but yeah, go on. About the Kliq.
Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, so I named it after the group that eventually created DX and NWO. It was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and you had Kevin Nash, and then Razor Ramon, and they called themselves backstage. They called themselves the Kliq. So that wasn't like their official wrestling name. And I just thought it was cool. Cause I like didn't really know that. Cause I was a little bit before my time, and I pretty much discovered, the Kliq. That was before DX and NWO, and it was like some of my favorite wrestlers in there, like Shawn Michaels. He's one of my favorites too. But anyway, I just thought that name just stuck. I was thinking of a name for my engagement group, and I didn't want to just name it engagement group, or like because on Telegram I could have You know, it could have really been anything. It could have been something generic, like just whatever. I said, let me at least put some thought behind it, put a name. And then I was like, you know what, the Kliq sounds pretty cool. And I just spelled it like they do. And then, yeah, just started doing some outreach there, a lot of outreach. Cause like right now we have 55 members, but the goal is to have 10,000 members in a Discord server. And then, yeah, but anyway, let me mention like how Wildfire gets into this. So I reached out to my buddy, Chris Walsh, right? Reached out to my boy, Chris Walsh. And he's the one that set up our work stream for relationships for these AMAs. He's the one that created that, you know, our financial model. That was him. So I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, I'm creating this engagement group and it's starting off on Telegram, but soon it's going to be on a Discord server and it's going to be token gated with reputation based NFTs. And that's a shout out to my team Rep3. I'm also doing marketing for them. So they're creating the NFTs for the Kliq. And then, yeah, now I'm doing marketing for them. But anyway.
Nice.
All right. Yeah, thanks. So I reached out to Walshy. I was like, hey, would you like to be in my engagement group? He's like, yeah, sure, I'll be in there. And then he said, you know what? I'm a part of a project that I think you will find very interesting. It's called Wildfire DAO, and I could set up an interview for you. And then I looked up Wildfire DAO on Google, and I saw it was founded by some, you know, some pretty, so word I want to use, some pretty like influencing people within the space. You had James Woe, you have Callum Daif that founded it, Cooper Turley, aka Cooper Trooper, and 0x Lucas, who's also, you know, a co-founder of Bankless DAO. It's like, okay, I know 0x Lucas. He leads the community calls every week. I was like, all right, right there, that impressed me. You know, I wanted to be affiliated with them, but I was like, let me see. I need to find out more information. So I started reading their like Medium articles about Wildfire, and what it is basically like a group of advisors. So you pretty much, like for an example, like those 4 guys, they would call Fire Eyes, and Wildfire is an extension of Fire Eyes. And Fire Eyes, they helped with token launches like ENS. I believe they helped with Gitcoin like early out, Super Rare, and Pleaser DAO. So like, all right, these are some great projects that I would like to be affiliated with. And then yeah, Walshy, he set up the interview. Basically, it was a vibe check. Past that with flying colors, like me and James, it was with James Woe and with James Woe and Callum. It was with James Woe and Callum. They were really cool. The vibe was great. And then I was a part of Wildfire after that. And then
so what exactly? I mean, wild what to say, Fire Eyes, of which Wildfire DAO was an extension, right? So what exactly was the DAO kind of doing? What were they advising these DAOs on?
Okay, so you have 4 different working groups in Wildfire. You have the creator economy, in which I'm a member of, and then you have infrastructure, DeFi, and public goods. Okay. And then what we do is basically we assist projects in areas and where they're lacking. Like we will do some research in their Discord server, see what's going on, find some areas that we can help. We're meta governance operators. So like instead of like handling that like within a silo, within like a certain DAO, they can reach out to an external organization that will specialize in a certain area. Like in a creator economy, it's me, Walshy, M Goes the Distance, who's also was a member at Bankless DAO, not as active there now, but yeah, he was also a member of Bankless DAO. And then we got B123. B123, M Goes the Distance, they're more like the financial guys. They're like into tokenomics and all that stuff. And then me and Walshy are into marketing. So like together we could come up with some interesting ways to help out these DAOs with certain problems that they're facing. And yeah, that's what we're doing now. And I thought it was pretty cool because around this time, I actually became an advisor to Nodestar DAO. Like this is before Wildfire. This was like beginning of April, April 2022, I became an advisor for Nodestar DAO. So when he reached out to me about Wildfire, I was like, wow, this is like what I want to really do in this space anyway. I wanted to have a cool position of being an advisor because then it gave me the free time to actually assist other DAOs. I'm not necessarily full-time in one space as like a co-founder or something like that, if I was like in that type of role somewhere. So that advisor like give me time and flexibility. But we assist DAOs in areas that they're lacking. In my case, my focus 100% is on social listening, social intelligence, because now I could give DAOs actionable insights into that. And I was surprised when we had a meeting with one prestigious DAO, right? And screw it, I'll just say the name. It was with Super Rare, right? We had a meeting.
That's the spirit, man. Keep that alpha coming.
So Super Rare, I was a fan of Super Rare, before I even got into the DAO space. They have like the real like high quality NFTs. They got some nice stuff on Super Rare. Like the way I look at it is like it's like a high-end NFT marketplace, right? Like only the best on Super Rare. But I noticed that their Twitter engagement was lacking. Their Instagram engagement is pretty good though. But I noticed their Twitter engagement is lacking, over 200,000 followers. But in terms like the engagement rate was like under 1%. I mean, which is normal on Twitter. Like a lot of people don't even reach 1%. But I'm thinking like I could help them get there to like a 1% engagement rate from the stuff that I've learned on Instagram. And then with the social listening tactics, asked if anyone on the Twitter team, like anyone on the market, the specific question I asked was anybody that handles the Twitter account, do they have like a background in SEO or, in keywords? Do they have like substantial like information on keywords? And to my surprise, no, actually. So like, okay, this is an area that I could capitalize on. I noticed like if they're not doing it, I'm pretty sure a lot of these DAOs aren't. Like every other DAO that I'm involved in, they're not using. So it's not like just Super Rare is not doing it. Like a lot aren't using keywords effectively or really like honing into social listening. I guess like that's still like some things that people are doing in like Web 2 or whatever, but that is very effective. It's very effective. So I was like, that's going to be the area that I focus on. And Wildfire, just being at Wildfire, that gave me that pretty much like let me know like I need to be the best advisor that I can be, to be the best wildfire operator that I could be. I need to really master one skill. And I was like, you know what, it's going to be social listening. That makes the most sense because that's where I could provide the most value. So Wildfire, getting involved there made me more focused.
I'm surprised actually that in spite of having so much capital across these DAOs, I mean, we're not 2-3 years ahead. We have all these DAOs with so much money in the bank. We have all these resources in the internet, and yet, it's just to master the fundamental skill of staying relevant and getting exposure, they fail to kind of get the basic things done, like content marketing, like SEO, and all these things. And that's a massive surprise for me. So for all the people who kind of operate their own DAOs currently, because you're kind of a master at that at this point, what are the best practices you see people should kind of do to ensure that they kind of have that sort of exposure out there? I mean, you don't need to talk a hell of a lot, but the 5 key things or something like that kind of works out.
I don't think I got a list of 5. I'll shoot off the hip here.
I mean, whatever is the key learnings that you kind of understood that DAOs should do that they aren't.
Yeah, because marketing is huge because you can have a great idea, but then somebody else could copy your idea with better.
Ooh, someone's getting protective,
yeah, somebody could copy your idea and just have better marketing and pretty much blow you out the water, right? So
all right. So all the DAOs listening out there, you're not getting that alpha. You have to reach out to Jaris for that piece of information. Yeah, go on, man. Go on.
Yeah, I'll definitely say you. All right. So what inspired me to even say this was Cult DAO, right? So that's another DAO. When you asked me some people there who I look up to, I forgot to even mention some anonymous people. I want to shout out Artorius and Mr. Homogulus. Those are the founders of Cult DAO. And what I love about them is their first rule of Cult DAO, which is to talk about Cult DAO, right? The people in their community, they are very enthusiastic. They like really love their project. They really tapped into the spirit. Like they really tapped into like what their fan base were, like what their community really want. Right. And they really want decentralization. They really want radical change in this world. And yeah, they attracted people that really showcase their energy and love for the project. And I noticed like a lot of projects, they just not doing that. Like the people, like for an example, if you're a part of a certain DAO and that DAO released a podcast, go watch it, like it, subscribe to it, like show love to it. It's funny, like if you have like thousands of members in your Discord server, but you're not getting like, like at least 10 to like 50% of that and like engagement on your YouTube, that's not right. Like, we got to get the community got to get excited about what's coming up because that's what's going to make the DAO overall more successful. So I like the fact that, well, I'll say you need some tenacity, some enthusiasm. Like, these DAOs need to be like enthusiastic about their project. And then that eventually gets more people excited. The people that are working within that DAO are excited. People are like, wow, let me check out why they're so excited about it. And then eventually you're going to have like a community that really wants to engage with you and like really want to be a part of what you got going on.
Yeah, so I notice a lot of these DAOs, man. Probably I'm not going to name names. Okay. Mm-hmm. But almost a lot of these DeFi and NFT projects, massive communities. But if you take a look at the podcast, something that highlights their own communities, they don't even have 50 views for every of their interviews or out of that. So how do you generate that sort of excitement within the community for their own content? I mean, what are they lacking here? What is Caldao doing that other communities aren't?
So, so I don't know exactly what code because I'm not necessarily a core contributor, but I do have a lot of friends in Code DAO. But what I noticed, it just goes back to they engage with their content. Like they engage. If somebody's talking about Code DAO, they're gonna comment, they're gonna go the extra mile. It reminds me of what I was doing on Instagram with my drop shipping clothing business, right? I set up 10 engagement groups of 10 people, and they were all people that left pretty much positive sentiments, comments on like previous posts I made in the past. I was like, okay, these people reacted the best to my content. So I rounded up the best, like 100 people, set up these 10 different group chats, and then let them know, pretty much like told them to engage with it because we engage with their stuff, right? So they engage with us, we engage with them. And yeah, and that really helped because like when I started releasing like new content, when I released new content, now people was commenting on it, and comments is a nice way to pretty much be in good standing with, at least with the Instagram algorithm. I'm pretty sure the Twitter algorithm works the same way, but yeah, like it's all about these algorithms on these platforms because like we talking about YouTube, we talking about Twitter. If you want to get massive exposure, you have to be in good standing with the algorithm, and if your community is not engaging with your content, then you're actually going to be, you're not going to be rewarded. You're going to be punished by the algorithm, and less people are going to see your stuff. And you can have a larger following, but it's actually bad when you have when your follower count goes up, but the engagement doesn't follow it. It's actually worse. You're better off with less followers because now your engagement rate is going less and less because you have more followers, and then you don't have any engagement to account for those followers. So you have to activate your community. So the best thing I think is attracting the right people into your community. So that's where keyword research really comes in and social listening. Because one thing, like here's like a growth hack. I don't really like to share too many hacks, but like one growth hack is to like actually engage with people that's making content that you want to be affiliated with, or like you engage with certain profiles that you want to be affiliated with. You want these type of people in your community, so you had to get involved in those type of conversations. And that's another thing. So it's not just the people in the DAO, it's people that's running it as well. It's the people that like the founders of it, or at least the people that's creating the content, that you don't just release it and leave it there. You got to start like engaging and like start making friends on Twitter. Like even if it's just your friend on Twitter, but like you start commenting on people's content and liking it and showing genuine interest, not just like a lazy comment, like nice post or this and that or whatever. Like leave like a really like a thought-provoking post that can actually be retweeted itself. But yeah, you got it's really has to do with outreach and attracting the right community. It definitely like attracting the right community to your project, and then you could do that with social listening, so you know how to insert yourself into certain conversations. And then another hack too is like, let's say you release some content. Okay, I'm involved with Rep3, so we're all about on-chain reputation, right? We build reputation-based NFTs, and we're gamifying the Web3 experience. So it makes sense to engage in content that uses relevant keywords like verifiable credential, on-chain reputation, or DAO Discord role tag. If you see anybody talking about that, you engage, you get in conversations with them, and then when you put out your content, it's relevant because they talk about it, and then you talk to the people that get the most engagement within those topics, and then eventually, like even Twitter would suggest you to follow those people. If you engage with somebody recently, Twitter actually suggests, when it's like who to follow, it will show the people that you recently engaged with. So, like that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, being active and being social, just having good social skills, and then know who to socialize with. And so then the people that do support your YouTube content, your Twitter content, they genuinely like that stuff. So it's not like you're just hoping that somebody retweets it, or you just putting your content out there hoping that it gets some traction. Like you have to like actually go out there and attract the right community, because you could be doing all the right things. You could actually have the followers, but you could have the wrong followers too. And like that's why like the whole follow for follow thing isn't good. You don't want to just follow a bunch of like people just because they follow you, or that don't even talk about what you're talking about. Even if you're in the DAO space, that's a niche, but that's not niche down enough. Like you have to like really get like what it is in the DAO space that you focus on, and then you can reach out to people that's within that sub niche of the DAO space. So
I
it's
mean,
all
you got to
about.
be the king of a pond rather than being a small little snorkel in an ocean, right?
Yeah, precisely. But it's all about strategy and just attracting the right people to your content. Like let's say one day you just make a tweet about something. For an example, like if I make a tweet about Malik DAOs, now I'm a fan of Malik DAOs. I like those. But you will get some followers that's from the Malik DAO community. But when you start talking about something else, they might not necessarily be a fan of that content. They just want the Malik DAO type of stuff. So it's good like to find like have a voice with some consistency as well. So you can attract those type of people to follow you that will like all of your content because of like what you talk about. Like in my case, like I really want to get into data and like one of like my most successful tweet was the top 5 DAOs that's under 100 million market cap that has the most active communities. So I put Avagachi there, number 1. I put Cult DAO in there. That was number 2, I believe. And then I put Avagachi, Code DAO, Nouns DAO,
The
Bankless
cross
DAO,
protocol.
and a cross protocol. And I noticed like people really like that content and reached about 10,000 impressions. I noticed like people like the like list tweets that had like listings and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, I want to really get into data. So I like Twitter accounts like Watch Your Guru. Yeah, they put like certain information out. They let you know like what's going on with like the whales and stuff like that. Big like pertinent information is going on in the DAO space. So it's nice to have like some consistency with your posts. Like people have to know why they're following this account, whether it's a DAO, an influencer, or whatsoever. Yeah, definitely consistency and then getting the right people to view it that's interested in that kind of stuff.
I think that's pretty lit, man. I feel that if DAOs kind of understand how to kind of rile up their own community to kind of get them towards their goals, it will go a long way. Just kind of putting your own vision out there and not being able to mobilize it that way. I think the sort of strategies you talk about should be kind of systemized in that sort of manner to allow for that sort of growth, right? So,
Yeah.
just wanted to understand. I mean, you kind of interface with a lot of DAOs in this space, and let's face it, it's a bear market. A lot of these DAOs, I mean, say your prayers for them, but half of them will eventually die sooner or later. Who are the DAOs that you feel will kind of perform well in the next 2, 3 years? Who do you see could kind of make an impact?
Well, some of these projects I'm thinking of off the top of my head just now, I don't know if they're even DAOs yet, but I'm really bullish on the Kosh network. I like what they're doing. Just the Cosmos ecosystem, IBC, Internet of Blockchain. But I'm gonna shout out Cult DAO. I like what they're doing. I'm but very bullish on Cult DAO. I feel like they're gonna have a long life. Yeah,
Huh?
I think Juicebox.
The
That's not
Juice
necessarily.
Box is a massive project. I think they're setting up that sort of infra for a lot of DAOs to succeed. Pretty lit.
Yeah, so I feel very good about Juicebox. They're gonna be successful. Well, they're already successful.
They're
They're
massive.
gonna reach more success. That's for sure. Another project, like once again, I don't know if it's considered a DAO, but it's Idris. And what's cool about Idris, they make it easy for people to tip in crypto, like to send crypto. It makes it much easier to interact in Web3. And they take wallet hashes and then they relate them to your Twitter account or your email or your phone number. So like let's say you have like an auntie or you have an aunt or uncle that don't really understand crypto much, and like you telling them like I'm gonna send some Bitcoin to your wallet address, and they don't get all that. They're not like technical or whatever, but it's easy for them to give their Twitter username, or they have Idris integrated on their Twitter account, and then it's just easy to send them crypto. So it's very easy. And then they have some interesting use cases. So like there's some DAO discovery platforms out there, but like let me shout out Deep DAO. I feel Deep DAO is gonna be very successful as well. Another wild card I'll say Truts is interesting. Truts is a discovery platform for DAOs, and their V2 is coming soon, so look out for them. Yeah, massive shout out to Raj. Raj is a beast. Yeah, he's his work ethic is insane. But anyway, like I was saying about these DAO discovery platforms, for example, Deep DAO. I like to use Deep DAO for outreach, right? And then
And that's pretty convenient.
another project too, I like the Pooley NFT project, pulled together. That also showed you like they really got their community engaged. They really activated their community very strong over there. Shout them out. I want to shout out the Chippy NFT community. For y'all that don't know, that's my NFT PFP is a Chippy, and that's a Bankless DAO project. So shout out to Perchy that created that. Yeah, and that's gonna be a larger NFT project that's gonna blow up soon. That's how I feel.
So
Lance
Jaris, I mean, these are so many projects that you kind of tagged here, man. I'm sure that especially Chippy, Idris, a lot of the projects that you mentioned, they can do pretty well. I mean, I've kind of seen Idris lately, and I love the concept. Chippy, though, let's face it, they're so cute. How can you not like them?
Yeah, and then you can customize them. So like I
Yeah.
didn't know like exactly which one was gonna be mine at first. I was thinking of maybe like some type of Dragon Ball Z type of thing. But then I was like, no, you know what? I'm gonna do a cold DAO mask. I get the cold, so I got the cold DAO mask on my chippy. But one, I can't believe I didn't say this first though. But I got to shout out Avagachi. That's gonna be like one of the, to me, like not to like be too shilly or nothing like that, but I feel like that's gonna be like one of the coolest games in the metaverse. Is
It
Avagachi.
is a pretty cool game already. You can just get better from this point, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then that's one thing too. Like you know how I mentioned Cold DAO and how they really get their community activated. Avagachi, same thing. They're so hyped about their community, and that's why I feel like if you want your you want your project to be successful, the people in your community got hyped up like Avagachi, because that's what I'm most bullish on Avagachi. Not only because the game is cool, not only because it kind of reminds me of Neopets. I know it's inspired by Tamagotchi. Tamagotchis came out like a little bit before my time, but it kind of reminds me of Neopets and all that. Like it's a cool game, but like Avagachi, the community is what makes me bullish on it. You know, so I got a shout out to my boy Anthony Zentimo. That's on. He's a part of Abagachi. I got a shout out to No Futuristic, Mycelium. You know what I'm saying? So it's some people that bearded lady that's involved in there as well. But yeah, like I said, big shout out, like I said, once again to No Futuristic. He's really representing Abagachi. He's really like bringing it to another level. And my boy Anthony Zentimo creates a lot of content for him. And just Jesse Johnson is really good, excellent founder. Like he's really cool. And yeah, just I really see big things coming out of Abagachi. Abagachi DAO is awesome.
Terrific bunch of DAOs that you kind of support, and happy to see that these communities, they got the basics right, they got the fundamentals right, and it's only a matter of time that way. So we've covered a whole lot of alpha. I love your story, how you kind of started out from a GameStop to kind of becoming a master, what is in the whole Kliq sort of things, huh? The way you kind of build relationships across the space, I think that's something fascinating, and a lot of insights about social listening and the sort of way in which community should be mobilized in that way. Absolutely fantastic conversation that we've had. Really love the whole vibe of it. Before we wrap it up, I just want to know, how can our listeners connect with you? What are the projects what are the key projects in which they can connect with you personally? And yeah, any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
All right. So yeah, if you want to get in contact with me, you can reach out to me on Twitter, follow me. And my Twitter is Jaris James, spell regular. Well, my name is Jaris James. And yeah, and then as far as if you want to reach out to me on Discord, like if you want to find me on Discord and certain projects, you could definitely find me in Bankless DAO. I'm a level 2 contributor, so you'll see me on the right side and a list of all the members. You'll find me. My name is highlighted in orange in the level 2 section, so you'll find me there on Bankless DAO. You can also find me, and I'm active in Rep3, of course. That's where I do marketing over there. I'm a core member of that team, so you can find me in the Rep3 Discord server as well, and also pretty active in a cross protocol as well.
Oh, wonderful. So that's it, I guess, everybody. I hope you guys all have a fantastic day ahead. And yeah, stay tuned to the Kliq podcast. We do come in with amazing episodes every week. Take care.